Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I don't know what I was talking about. Anyway, I was saying that the whole point I'm trying to make that there's those crazy Syrian sculptures, and so Maddie, you just joined in.
Sorry, one quick second. Was it Maddie? Was it gold with a D or a G?
With a G, it's like my name on
right.
on
That's
Zoom.
what I thought. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
Hey, Maddie.
We could also draw. We could always draw these puppies too.
Wait, what was the email? Like, do you want to just tell me it? Maybe I don't.
Okay. Save draft. Okay. I'm sending it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Maddie, I sent like a bunch of basically a bunch of photos. One taken from my ancient Greek book, and then the others were kind of pulled from the internet. And one of them in particular was really strong, which is what I'm gonna kind of go over. So this is Archaic Sculpture. So this is the bridge between that like ancient Syrian, like modern day Iraq sculptures. Like I guess it's like, I don't know if it's Babylon, but they're old. And then the kind of classicism of classical Greek sculpture that we all know, from the Parthenon and more of the more popular stuff. This was near Athens, like kind of near Marathon, which is kind of interesting. So this really was a bridge, and this might be like one of the finest examples of this archaic style, and it really is. I think it's just like, the more I spend time with this picture, the more spectacular it becomes. It was made with like profound sensitivity and love of a very handsome, kind of idealized, but like kind of an inside and out type of idealism. So like physically, but also he was kind of like the ideal. He was like the guy himself. And then the other interesting thing about this piece, which I need to look up, is that we know who the artist is. So it's like, this is just this. It's just, again, it was kind of like one of these themes that I've been talking about, where you have to grab some, like there's art pieces that can define define a time and place, and nothing else can ever, it's not like it can ever be redone. So I have to plug in my computer. And this there was a realization of this period from probably like 1000 to 500, and then from 500 down to like 300 BC, we have have this beautiful flowering. There was a Greek Dark Age, actually, which I don't really know how long that lasted or whatever, but we're talking huge swaths of time. I mean, if you think about just our last 500 years, it's pretty intense, and very times of war, times of peace, big cycles that ran through. And I just, this piece in my mind defines that moment at 500 was actually a peak of a particular style, right before a transition into another great era of art making. And I haven't, I mean, it might as well start at the top, and so Maddie, I was saying that like when we went to the museum, and that ear that I was drawing with that low relief kind of god or demigod, and then this guy is this is a portrait of a man. There's a portrait of a young man who died, and he was a citizen, and he was a basically he was part of the, not, I wouldn't say ruling class, but he was at least free, and and a soldier, and he was idealized in the way that every line is composed and controlled in this particular technique, this low relief sculpture technique. And I've looked at a bunch of other ones, and the low relief sculptures at this time can be pretty primitive. I mean, they can be like hard to look at. And this guy is, not only is he physically good looking, but the material, the type of marble is gorgeous. And the execution of the artistic style is really beautiful. And I think it lends itself really nicely to drawing too. So I think we could actually have an opportunity to make a really beautiful, just a beautiful drawing. And when you can't travel as much, this is you can still extrapolate, so you can still just squeeze out so much, satisfaction in terms of beauty, connection with the past, and then also, skill development through these pieces that translate well into photographs. That's the other thing. I mean, you do a sculpture in 3D, and it's really made to be seen in the third dimension. This one is really kind of made to be seen from a singular vantage point. The only issue is that depending on where it was positioned in the museum, depending on where the light was in the day, the light changes. And the image that we're going to be using, this is my book. This is actually my book. So that was the first photo that I sent to you, huge. So you could kind of, just, you could see kind of what I'm looking at. And, this was, the book itself is from 1960. So the reproduction is, they're bragging about it, at that era, but I mean, it's really low resolution, and the printing is just kind of mediocre compared to like our standards today. But the light is coming from the left side. So you look at the back of his arm, and that's light, and then the front of his arm is in shadow. You get this like beautiful light subject up against a dark background, and then on his back, on his rear end here on the back thigh. And then if you see the front, the light travels across, you get some midtones, and then it turns slightly, and then you get this groove, which is where the separation between the two thighs are. So if you look here in this drawing, it's very linear. So it's a sculpture, but he's using a lot of drawing principles. So the top of the hand here, or the wrist, goes into the thumb, and then this thumb comes up into the tip of the thumb. That is a light subject up against a dark ground. And even there's a light highlight. So the light highlight, it's almost like a white line. And then you get the midtone, and then on the fat of the thumb, it curls under itself. And it's going to do the same thing with the form. I mean, look at the echo of the form of the thumb plus the forearm. Question?
How does he do that? I mean, is it just the depth of the sculpture, of the relief, or is it something else, or different materials? How does he get that?
No, it's the manipulation of the stone. And and it's the control, and that's what's so beautiful about, like, if we think about it in terms of stonework, the ideas are the concepts are exactly the same as they are in drawing. Now then there's a cast, then there's like a cast shadow. So let me zoom in on his face. And this is not the one that we're going to be using. The one that we're going to be using is the one that's got the entire figure, and it was the first one on the second email. And that one came off the internet. And I'm like, you can say a lot about, it's just we're so lucky. I can't even put it into words that we get to have that. And I just took it for free. I guess nothing's free, but the light is coming from this left side, and this is not the vantage point that we're seeing. So I'm exploring this now. So I'm almost explaining it in this context, so that when we reverse the light, we have, it's almost like it's just a different way of seeing it. It's like the sun came from the left side of the picture, now is going across and then arriving on the other side. I think in a way that this style of sculpture, it doesn't actually matter where the light is. It's going to look good from any lighting arrangement. Okay, so then here you've got you've got the light of the face, and then you have the front of the nose, which goes in shadow. And then that nose throws a shadow onto the background. So we have light side, we have shadow side, and then we have cast shadow. And like I said, like, most of this picture is going to be linear, but we're going to have to use some gentle shadow fade, shadows fading out. it's just wild when you look at, this is the amount of detail that you can get in his beard, you know, from somebody that's, you know, I'm thinking of a student from like the 1960s that's just like looking at the books and trying to like learn about sculpture. And then you think about what you can get here. Let me put this one back up. I mean, how spectacular are each one of these little grooves, this little wiggle that goes down. And it's just a beautiful form. I can't even, and we're gonna be able to get at least yeah, we'll be able to get most of them. It's just the details on this upper lip. Like look at the separation between his upper lip, and then there's this little gap. So this is the lip skin, which is in shadow. Then you get this light highlight where the lip skin transitions into regular skin, and then that's right in between the mustache. So there's like this mustache that goes, you know, that comes down and joins in with the beard there, and that's like it's a real moment, you know, in the mustache, and we'll get into the like look at the delicacies happening inside that nostril, and we'll get to see more stuff. Those, you know, this technique. Like I think, you know, it doesn't come flush, you know, like with the nose where it attaches to the background. I don't think it goes flush. I think he carves underneath here, creating a cavern, you know, a deep cavern. So that lip overhangs slightly from that background. Anyway,
I'm still sort of perplexed. How does he get the darker tones in the stone? You know, when he's not creating shadows or grooves. How does he find that dark part?
It's sculpted in the light. So it's the light that creates it. So if we just look at the eye, you know, this is a shelf, you know, that's facing up towards the sun. And then that shelf comes over and then it cuts under itself and and then it throws a shadow. So if you can almost look at my hand here, like if you see the palm of my hand, it's dark. And then if I tilt it forward, it becomes extremely light. So there's the dark plane and then the top plane. So he's doing it by controlling the planes of the stone to create the light and the dark. And it's very different than working, you know, drawing someone's face from nature. You know, if you look at somebody's face and you kind of draw them, like there's colors, there's hair, there's reflections, there's highlights, these planes do exist in the face. But when you're painting, you have all these other, you know, you have all these other devices to use. When you're in sculpture, there's really just the planes, you know, the light being above, and, you know, the natural light in the sculpture is so important. I mean, look at the, oh God, this is gonna be so good. You have the light of the forehead, you know, the light's coming from the right. So you have the up plane of the forehead, the under plane from the eyebrow into the fold. And then you have the up plane from that fold up to the, you know, basically where the eyelashes are. And then you have the plane of the upper eyelid that angles down to the ground.
So Trevor, question.
Yeah.
Are you saying that if this particular sculpture was moved so that the light was hitting it in a completely opposite direction, that we would not necessarily see these lights and darks as we are seeing them now?
Yes, and I think I have another one.
Okay.
I think I have a different picture that can help. No. Okay, so yeah, this isn't exactly different. We can use the one that from class.
So it's a function of the.
It's basically there's the up planes and the down planes are going to be the same. It's really the left planes and the right planes that are varied. So just this is the one from the book. So the eyebrow, the brow ridge here is light because the sun is from the left side. So it's light side, shadow side. This eyebrow ridge, light side, shadow side. The eyeball itself, light side on this side, shadow side here. And then you can actually see that there's a little notch in there that's picking up the light right near that pupil, by the pupil / iris. So now let me just quickly point out the upper eyelid is still a down plane and still in shadow. The lower eyelid is still an up plane and in the light. And then the space on the beneath the lower eyelid, that, the lower eyelid angled to the ground is still in shadow. So now the left side of the nose is light, the right side is in shadow. So let me go back. So the light is coming from the right. So then the right side of the eyelid is in shadow, left side is, the right side's in light, the left side's in shadow. Up plane light, down plane shadow. Look at the eyeball. The right side of the eyeball is in light. The left side is in shadow. Still, the up plane of the upper eyelid is light. The down plane is dark. So the up and down will be the same. The left and the right will be reversed, depending on which example we're using for which reason. Now, there's this phenomenon that we can do and that artists use all of the time. And it's the best story I like to say is when I had the old Mitchell School photographed, my buddy set up his tripod. He had a remote control focus and the ignition. So we would shoot it. And he came in with a spotlight and he walked around the room and he lit the right side, photographed it, walked to the back of the room, lit that corner, photographed it, moved to the middle, photographed it. He basically moved this light around the whole room, took 10, 12 pictures. And then because it was in the exact same position, he weaved them all together and he took himself out of the picture. So there was this artificial lighting in the room that was like completely impossible, but you couldn't notice. It would just it made the room look like $1 million. So what we can do is, just because the head, is lit in this position, with the light coming from the right side, doesn't mean that we can't use some of the lighting for the back of the head. If we lose it here, we could come back and look at this one, for example. And when you go to the museum, and I took this, if you use the flashlight on your phone, you can hold the flashlight up to the sculptures. Most of the sculptures are lit all right. A lot of the sculptures are not. So, especially in the Egyptian wing, I mean, the Egyptian wing has got this nice mood, it's this mood that it's you're walking into some kind of tomb. And, so the lighting is mediocre. You have your flashlight, you can shine it right on these sculptures and see, what the hell is going on. Where, if you didn't use that. So I guess what I'm saying is that, this one is also really fascinating. I didn't send this to you all, but the way that this light was happening, it revealed a lot of the decorative elements that you don't necessarily see. Look at this strap along his rib cage. And there's this amazing sun on his shoulder. Anyway, I didn't send this one because I didn't think it was that necessary. But very super dramatic lighting. And this guy was painted. I cannot wait to get to his waist and his his belt, his leather his leather Speedo. It's these sections of leather cutouts are just so simple and so beautiful. Look at can you see the little conical bend right here? Oh, I mean, it's stone, but it makes it feel like fresh cut leather panels. There's so much to unwind in this picture, and the folds, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not claiming that we can draw this entire thing necessarily in one session, but I think we should attempt to sink our teeth into it. I mean, 3 hours isn't particularly that long, but you can really get a lot done. All right, so these were some of the extras. You can Google search this. I swear I found a high resolution image of this scene where you could see how he carved in all of these letters, and I lost it. I just couldn't find. I like went through. You go through these rabbit holes when you go Google image, and then you go to other one. It gives you more, and then it gives you more, and then you can never really find it again because you're like skipping through logarithms. But I'm sorry. Yeah. So if you can maybe find this, it'd be great if we got to the feet. But this is the I think this is the signature of the artist. Yeah, like I said, we know who this artist is. His Aristocles, Aristocles. One of the rare. I mean, it's rare to know who sculpted these things. So that's the other thing that I love about this is that he was proud of it. There's that story when Michelangelo finished the Pietà in Rome, where the adult Christ, the dead Christ, is laying on Mary's lap, and it's just this huge piece of marble and all these beautiful folds. And I guess the night before it was presented to the public, he went in and he carved his signature through the sash, right through the middle of Mary's garments. And it's like, anyway, I think it's great. I think it's great that we get to, that you have a certain amount of insecurity, and then at the end you're like, well, this is actually really good. So there's a couple things that we can do. It's 10:09, and we can maybe discuss it. There's the entire figure, and then there's like these. Then there's the head and the face, and we could sink into the head and the face. I was also looking at his hand. The hand is really, really delightful, with the fingernails and the arrangement of those. His hand around the stick. There's these. There's those like the transparent, undershirt that comes out from underneath his his leather shoulder pads. And then obviously there's the face and the ear and the various the hair. Look at what do you think is going on here? Do you think?
Yeah, what's going on with the beard?
I don't know.
It's like his face fell off.
I mean, it's almost like it's like he had the beard and then.
Yeah. Or is it just cracked?
I mean, it could have just cracked off, but it looks like it was. I wonder if it if it cracked off and then somebody tried to fix it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, when you cover that up, it definitely took off some of his chin. Like it feels unnatural. But then you can see where it was, where there was clearly something else. So yeah, that's another kind of mystery of this piece. Oh, Stacy must have gotten bumped off. Stacy, did you get bumped off? And then this is the piece that has, our the whole guy. And that's the other thing, we know his name, which is kind of nice. And it's a handsome name.
What's his name?
Aristinian?
Oh, we just went through that, yeah.
Well, his name is Aristinian, and then the artist is named Atrocles. Or Aristocles? This is, you guys shouldn't. Has everybody seen the oh wait, not everybody's seen the video. We should do this, and then we'll need a little break because I'm still building up my courage to do this guy.
Wait, question. I don't
yeah.
know if you went over it, but I was like missing for a little while. Like, what does he do? What is his job? Like, is he a soldier? Is he a guard? What is it?
Yeah, he's a citizen soldier. So he's basically he's free, and he is like a landowner but he also fights in the army. So he's not like a mercenary. He's like, what's his name? Eric Prince. Sorry. Yeah, no, he's just he is a soldier. Apparently this was his tomb though. Like he must have been killed or something. And this was like near Athens and Marathon. I forgot to send that. I was gonna send that last night. If you look this up on Wikipedia, there are a whole bunch of really interesting terms that I'd never heard of before. There's these his legs have these leather shin guards that are part of his armor. Sometimes they're metal, sometimes they're leather. I think these are metal actually. They don't really know, but they're customized to the soldier, and it's just it's amazing to see how the anatomy runs through the exterior. Sorry about that. My settings here. All right, and then I have to show everybody the video because I don't think everyone's seen it. One of our interns, Max, who has been painting on Tuesdays and helping out with a bunch of my classes, made a video of the Temeraire, the piece that we did together, and it really is good. I'll play it for you. All right, you guys ready for this? I'll turn up the volume here. Grace, did you get to see it?
No.
Okay, so I tried to email it to you, but it may not have come through. Okay, on your marks, get set, go. The Fighting Temeraire. Can you guys hear it?
Mm-hmm.
One of the first representations of a steam ship in the history of art. Talk about the composition for a second. It's not always what you include that matters, it's what you leave out. All of the darkest elements are going to be happening within our boat, and then the lightest elements are also going to be happening in the background of the tugboat. Is faded with the sails down ship, even though this is a much more grandiose structure. The amount of craftsmanship that goes into this versus the amount of technology that goes into the tugboat. I mean, we're talking about like hundreds of years, thousands of years of refinement. It's going to be amazing to see how all these decorations have to be muted in order for that boat to go back in space. And then this boat is dominating it with its new technology. That's the message of the picture. And generally, Turner's reputation is that he was very liberal with how he applied paint, method paint, layered paint, very, very loose. His compositions are tight, but like very ephemeral, and did things with paint that had never really been done before. Is it an accurate representation of the ship? No. Is that the point of it? No. The point is to make it work with the picture, to be harmonized with the other elements of the picture.
Turner objected to this 1845 engraving by Wilmore.
One is a painting and the other is an illustration. It's like a perfect example of the difference between an illustration, which this is, versus fine art. And this guy kind of overstepped his bounds in terms of including details that, Turner was just not interested in including. But Turner was able to reflect his era, critical art historical moment where all of these elements were coming together in a really unique way that could happen in no other time. And there's just something really beautiful about that. Isn't that nice?
Nice, very nice.
And the sound was all right?
Yeah, I like the background music.
It was very pleasant. It's a very
Yeah.
pleasing kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's a good, quick and easy, very, very, you basically give a really good picture of what's behind that, the history and the technique.
Thanks, Steph. Thank
Yeah.
you. We'll see. We'll see what it was just nice to see everything condensed,
Mhm.
and to see it, to see the class move quickly. Okay. So let's do I think we should do like a quick, like a placement of all the things that like need to get done. And then we will go about doing them. And if we just finish one ear, or if we finish the entire thing, we'll see how it goes.
So Trevor, are we just gonna draw the top half of him or the whole guy?
I mean, I think we should set it up so that we get to draw the whole guy.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, to how much room I would need. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be great to set it up so that everyone could draw the whole guy.
Trevor, I'm tempted to use colored paper, like off-white paper, but does that mean I'd have to use chalk?
Not necessarily. I mean, it would be great if you use chalk.
For that stone feel.
Yeah. I think you should use whatever materials. I mean, please, God, I would love. I mean, I think like like tan paper, like an off-white with like some light highlights. Will totally do the trick. I gotta maybe I should turn this light off. I gotta figure out how to get the right settings. We've got the, there's like the light in the room, then there's the light from the screen, and then there's the light that is being perceived by the, by the iPad.
And would you use the rough side of the paper or smooth side for this stone?
I would use the smooth side. The only reason I say that is because so much of this it's not a very rough sculpture. It's so clean. I mean, it's very polished. I don't need this one. So it looks like I may need to have a couple drawings going, and I think that'll be fine. It's gonna have to be fine. So I'm gonna have my miniature drawing of the whole guy, and then we'll have, and then I'll have my detailed version of each part. So we're gonna, in a perfect world, I would be able to have everything be on the same size, but it's not really possible, which I think it would, and it's gonna be okay. Yeah, this is wonderful. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So I think one of the big, and you can we can be very, let's go easy on ourselves today, not necessarily be most critical. This is the first time we're going to be drawing this. It's the first time I've drawn it. And I think we'll be able to go from macro to micro, and the micro, you know, in terms of the details are so rewarding. They're gonna be so beautiful. But the whole thing needs to tie together and needs to fit together. And I think in terms of the balance and the various component parts, and this is how you would kind of assemble any, any human figure, but the profile does make it a lot nicer. And there's, he's very, for a masculine figure, that says muscular and is, a lot of his features are very soft. Yeah. So there's a lot of the forms. I'm looking just right now at the orb of his shoulder, and like the whole mass and the size of his breast and like the massing of it's almost like his forms, his body is curvilinear, and then his his man-made objects, his armor is more rectilinear, and we'll get a bunch of really beautiful edges in there, and 90-degree angles, gentle curves. It's the whole thing is just it's just spectacular. Okay, so let's see where the top is. Here is my top. Here's my bottom for this particular one. A lot of times you want to run a center line, through the whole thing, and I just want to be aware, like where there can be, center lines running through the whole subject. Obviously, the most dominant one is going to be the pole. I mean, it is a literal straight line that runs, all the way up and down. Now that's the visual one. So I don't know if that's adjusting his weight. I think it is. So he's leaning slightly on this pole, and that's going to throw everything like off slightly. And this is part, and I think they actually even mentioned it, I can't remember with the words, but he is leaning forward ever so slightly. So when I look at the dominant angle, basically the line that links all of the component parts together, the head, the middle of the head, the middle of the rib cage, the middle of the pelvis, the middle of this thigh, the middle of this leg. Do you see that this diagonal is what really strings the entire piece together? So, in a way, if you run important verticals like the eye, like the nipple, the space between the thighs, like the middle, the kneecap, the back of the kneecap, and then the middle of the right side leg, his left leg. That's a really important vertical. It's a string that links up all these really important parts. With humans, when they're standing, they can shift to the left, they can shift to the right, they can move forward, they can lean back. Like there's all these really subtle, balancing acts that the figure is able to express and infer. And the inference and the subtle movement of this guy is his whole head and shoulders moving forward, whether he's moving in that direction, or whether he's choosing to like put a little bit of his weight on the staff, or the spear, whatever it might be. There's weight from the back leg that's shifting forward and distributing weight into the arm that is supporting itself on that staff. So in a way, you almost get this triangle. Ooh, that's kind of nice. You see that little, like this is the triangle, this is the flat base, and then this is the hypotenuse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cool. Very, very interesting. Because so let's look at some other important landmarks that we can link up on the vertical, relating head to toe. Any standing figure, you're looking to relate the head to toe. I'm looking at the middle of the head. That's one of the things I like to look for. The middle of the ear lines up with the split in the hat. Comes down, kind of gets where the pectoral meets the shoulder and the armpit right there. Looks like it's the middle of the belt on the horizontal. Looks like it's the wrist, you know, where the radius is, comes down, hits the intersection between the, maybe it's just like the back of the knee on the left leg, and then where the 2 feet connect, you know, where the left foot overlaps the right foot. That's just an opportunity for me to point out some things that we can look for. The other one, again, relating head to toe and seeing what we're gonna hit along the way. You get the back of the head, and the back of the head is where the middle of the shoulders are. I mean, if you think about when people stand up, their head is sometimes the furthest part back. Anyway, the angle of the neck, you know, pushes the head forward. This weight is pushing the head forward. So the back of the head is actually a little bit, you know, forward compared to the rest of the stuff. So you've got the middle of the shoulder, lines up with kind of like the inside of the elbow. That gets you the middle of the thigh, the whole middle of the thigh. And then this spectacular, kind of, I don't even know what we're going to call this, but this, the way that those folds are, you know, being presented to us, it's going to be a great time. Oh yeah, that's the whole point. I was going to say that, and the arm, you know, the one that you also see in the arm here. This is why I chose the piece, because I was going from Da Vinci's folds, from the Assyrian giant Anunnaki, you know, demigods, to Da Vinci's folds, and then I found this like beautiful harmony between the two. Anyway, so that's what I was trying to get to in the very beginning before everyone got on. Okay, great. And then you should get the middle of that thigh and the middle of the knee block, you know, and then the front of the ankle, and then the middle of that foot, you know, kind of where the heel meets the bridge. And we can get into that. All right, so the plan of attack, we're just going to use a circle for the head, and then the shorthand way of doing the face is the forehead to the nose, and then the nose to the chin. So there's just these 2 lines. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. Then we're going to build the angle of the neck, entering into the rib cage, and almost like we're going to use the angle of his armor, you know, to help find this transition from the neck into the rib cage. And we're going to build that rib cage, which is very round. And then we're going to use a little belt to go from the rib cage into like the love handles, which are really kind of obscured by the belt. And then we have the pelvis, and his pelvis is basically this skirt. And the skirt does basically cover up, you know, the actual pelvic bone, which is spectacular, because the hips come up higher. And then we're going to build this, you know, this dude can, you know, this guy runs. I mean, look at like his muscles, the muscles in his legs are, you know, just so impressive. And we're going to get to, you know, build those big thighs, and then the relatively small knee block, and then back into the calves, and then the calves into the ankle, and then the ankle into the foot. So those are the major masses: head, rib cage, pelvis, and then these tree trunks of legs. We'll do the 3 masses first, build the tree trunks off of there, and then we'll add the arms on top of that. If it's possible, we want to be able to look through the arms. Like, imagine that the arms are not there. And in order to do that, you got to be able to like remove it from your head and see how, you know, the neck transitions into the S curve of the back. Now, this is not the spine back here. Believe it or not, the spine is a little bit closer to the body. These are the scapula. So he's got scapula, and he's got these, you know, radical back muscles. But you can still follow the S curve, and then go through, you know, look through the arm and see how the spine, you know, after the scapula end at this little point, then you get into the lats, and then the S curve gives you his little, you know, his like small, you know, relatively small, you know, rear end there. Okay. Does anybody have any questions at this point? I highly recommend everybody that you do not draw small. Like maximize the size of your paper you're going to want to maximize. I mean, and the reason I say that is because there's so many rewarding details that if you go to, I have to draw mine super small, and then I'm gonna flip it onto my other sheet, and we're gonna like do the head, and then we'll be able to follow some of the lines down generally. So the general lines and the details I'm going to do on my full figure, but then I'm going to pull larger sheets over for, you know, the fun details. And the fun details that we have, you know, are the hand, the folds, the face. And I think that's going to be about as much as we can digest today. I would love to do the skirt. I think the skirt's going to be kind of easy.
Guy Greek or Roman? Sorry, I forgot.
What's that, Maddie?
Is the guy Greek or Roman?
He's Greek. Yeah, this is the end of the Archaic period and right before classical Greek movements happened. So we're looking at, I think, about 500 BC. Oh man. All right. Here we go, y'all. We're gonna make this you know, when I say make it like simple, we're gonna like make it super simple. So I'm just gonna review. I'm not review. I mean, you guys are adults. We all know our shapes. Okay, so I'm gonna put in a circle, and I love the fact that the back of his head really offers that shape. So whenever we're doing these shapes, they're combined. You know, they're multiple shapes. So the main shape for the head is going to be a circle. And then we can use this basically a triangle for the brow ridge to the nose, and then the nose to the chin. I've often talked about this hockey mask, you know, where it's like, you know, like Jason or just a regular hockey mask. You know, where you have the circle, which is the cranium of the head, and then you have the you know, just the way that you can almost remove the face as if it were a mask, as if it were a hockey mask. And then behind that is where you get the placement of the ear. So at the moment, just with our circle, we've got the nose. We can put the mouth in underneath of it. And then we've got the eye with the circle. With the mask is basically the hairline leading back to the sideburns into the you know, into the beard. Now it's interesting because the nose is kind of pointy, and what we looked at before is that we have this triangle, you know, of the beard. So why not put that in there? So we've got eyes, nose, mouth, ear, and this round cranium. Now we've got to get from the head, we've got to get to the head to the shoulders, and you go through the neck. So we've got a vertical line here, and we've got an angled line here. So the neck is going to be a like a triangle or a trapezoid. And the neck disappears into a, you also want to think about like a tree. Let's get this second thing. When you do good design, you know, whenever, as my teacher used to talk about all the time, it was like, you look outside and you see this relationship, you know, you see a 90-degree angle. There's no transitions. It's basically a telephone pole. So there's no transitions. It's not elegant. It's an aggressive 90-degree turn. If you look and you see this, one transition, two transitions, one transition, two transitions, you know, that is going to be a tree, and then it branches out this way. So it goes from it goes from narrow at the top, thicker at the bottom, narrow at the top, thicker at the bottom. So you're always getting these gradual transitions. And I was just reminded, you know, as the root system goes into the ground, you know, this vertical transitions, you know, outward. I was just thinking about how, you know, the neck organically does that, transitions nicely into the shoulders, and then the collar helps, you know, the fashion or the clothing helps accentuate that transition
I have a
from
question.
the head into the shoulders.
Sorry,
What's that?
I think so many questions. But I was
Please.
wondering if the style of the face is like accurate representation of him, or just like a style of the period of you said 500 BCE?
Yeah, it's actually both. That's what's wonderful about this piece. This is it's archaic style portrait of an actual man. Aristinian
Yeah, I mean
is
like,
the guy. But the way that the eyes are drawn are very characteristic of the way that the way that the nose and the eyes are and the style of the hair are, you know, are designed are very characteristic of the age. So Matt, if you look closely at, say, this, for example, this is probably the cut of the beard. You know what I mean? This is probably an accurate proportion of how this guy's beard went. Like some dudes' beards come up really high and then they dip back down and then they have like thinner mustaches. Like, I think this is how his hair was. But then if you look at this zigzag, like it's an abstract representation of hair that was characteristic of the art at this time. So it's both defines the era and the style and the period of art, of history, of art during this period of history, but yet it's also a representation of Aristinian's beard. So it's a great question, though.
But he had died, right? You're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So this sculptor needed to know a little bit about what his features, what he looked like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I don't know. Like, did he come from a wealthy enough family to get his portrait done? Were portraits done? You know, were painted portraits done? You know, a lot of times, I think at this period, a lot of tombs, you know, instead of, you know, if you could get your portrait done and then it would go on your, you know, on your tomb. So I don't know whether, and whether that was a composite or whether the artist had to like look at the siblings or something like that. Can you imagine? It's almost like a police sketch. You know, like you get an artist that comes in and, you know, you lost somebody in the war and you're like, well, he looked a lot like, you know, he had the nose of my brother here, but he had the ears of my sister. And, you know, but then he really does look like dad. You know what I mean? So then the artist comes in and does a portrait. That would be amazing, actually. Okay, cool. All right, so this is going to be what I was going to consider kind of the hard part. And the reason I think it's the hard part is because there's two things going on. And we've talked about this before. There's like a major enclosure. So the major enclosure is the egg shape of the rib cage. Now, we know that the rib cage is this form. Now, it's really, but the problem is that there's not much of the rib cage that's actually expressed because we have these large scapula in the back, which if you look at the way that progresses from the base of the neck down to where the elbow would be, that is actually not rib cage. It's bone and muscle resting on top of the rib cage. And then you go to the front, and from the pit of the neck, where you have to imagine where the neck meets that collar, that's the sternum. And then that sternum supports the attachment of the pectorals. And the pectorals on this side are what kind of define the edge of the rib cage at the top portion. So you have to like know that there's the oval of the rib cage inside, but then when we draw the silhouette, you've got to know that there's the anatomy that sits on top of that rib cage. And you guys can do it. We have this really beautiful straight line connection that gives me the feeling of, well, it's almost like a breath in, you know, it's like you go, you know, when you're getting your photo taken and you know that your whole body's going to be in there. And so you take a deep breath and you like tighten up your core so that it is most flattering. that is this straight line that connects the pectorals to the waistline, which is where the belt's going to be. That is what kind of, that angle and that straight line is what kind of reminds me of that movement that you would do if you were breathing in to suck in the gut. I'm going to use my my X-ray vision to show the spine transitioning, into the pelvic block, and then I don't need X-ray vision to draw the belt. So I'm looking at the rectangle of this belt, and I'm hoping, praying that the distance between my pectorals and the belt is about right. Maybe, hopefully I'm not too small. I'm looking a little small. I'll come out with my rib cage, come out with my pectorals, come down. I'll drop this a little bit, perhaps. We'll be able to adjust. The best, I always talk about the pelvis with these classes as the mini skirt. And in this case, he's wearing a mini skirt. And so the skirt comes out as a trapezoid, and then it's going to come out as a trapezoid in the back, and then it's going to cut across. And that is the pelvis. And it's not technically the pelvis is like a block. So the pelvis on this side, you get this nice vertical flap here, and then it comes across, and then you have the vertical behind the elbow, behind the forearm. But then he's got this, kind of bubble butt here. So you want to include that round muscle of gluteus maximus. I guess in this shadow, I suspect behind the arm, there will be medius. So there'll be a little transition up near the waist, and then it'll turn into the maximus. And that's going to come below the mini skirt. So that the bulb of the rounded form starts at the waist, transitions from the gluteus medius into the round part, and it goes below the mini skirt, where we're then going to get the beginnings of this thigh. Now that we're starting to get a bunch of forms together, I want to see if I can relate that original diagonal. Remember, I saw that diagonal was like the angle of the head and the sideburn sort of running through this. I'm feeling good about this angle, just using it in my, sketching it lightly, having my mind's eye on that hypotenuse of the triangle. Yeah. All right, so the flap here kind of hides the triangular relationship of the abdomen, basically below the belly button, and the triangle that's created from when the legs actually split from the one thigh to the other thigh. And it's a really nice article of clothing. And then we're just going to build the enclosure, and I feel like we're dealing with the same thing with the enclosure oval of the rib cage, meaning that the front is, yes, it's part of the oval, but the anatomy is distinctly different from the back. We're going to do the same thing with the, this really long, elegant oval of the thigh. So we got to find the starting point, where the front of the thigh begins, and then we're going to get there's this little flat transition before you get the hamstrings from the gluteus maximus, and then we're going to get the thickness of that leg, and we're going to see it as an oval. And then we'll define the we're going to define the front of those legs according to anatomy eventually. And then we're going to see how the knee block angles back even further. And the above, like basically above the kneecap is going to be a horizontal indicator, and then below the kneecap is going to be another horizontal indicator. And we're going to use that knee block to help place the kneecap, and then link up some of this anatomy as we run through. And notice that diagonal. There's a really powerful angle, from the middle of this thigh. So I built my oval, but that oval is angled back and to the left. This angle here, if you were to run a skewer through it, And again, the back of the thigh is more of a vertical. The front of the thigh is more of an angle. So those subtleties we'll get into, but we're just trying to keep it simple. Let's do the egg shape for the calf. And the beauty of my drawing is at this particular stage is that the back of the calf muscle, the oval that I'm using for the back of the calf muscle, is the furthest back that this picture goes. Now, the problem with it is that this vertical along the side, the back of the calf muscle, also kisses his butt and then also kisses his shoulder blades. So as I run this vertical up, I'm able to expose some of my inadequacies. I think I can move that like that. I mean, that is the most obvious of all verticals. I mean, I talked about the vertical on the right. I didn't even notice this vertical on the left, which is essentially the notional space. You know, this edge is both the edge of the entire work of art, and it's also the edge of the figure. Very, very gorgeous. Very, very useful. You know, he's really maximizing his materials there. We'll be able to zoom in and look at the spaces between, you know, the negative spaces between the arm and the deltoid and his gluteus medius right here, and that vertical of the, you know, if these shapes that are between the edge and the figure, or if those look right, you know, those will be very, very useful. As a negative space. This is probably the most characteristic negative space I've ever seen in my life, in terms of the definition of the term. All right, so we got this calf muscle, and then we're going to trapezoid. We're going to trapezoid the with this really beautiful shin bone, angles back that almost kind of creates a trapezoid in the whole we'll just call it a trapezoid from the calf muscle down into the ankle. We can identify the ankle, and then, like we've done, you know, 100 times, we'll turn the foot into a sort of a trapezoidal block. With the ankle bone, the lower outside ankle bone. Wow. Lovely. Truly. Still, even at this phase, you can, without that second leg, you know, with this being removed, you can really see the, you know, the angled vector of the lean forward. I'm happy about that. His left leg is stepping forward. That might be a little awkward thing too, is that both his left leg leans forward and his other arm leans forward. I'm trying to imagine if I were to lean on a staff, if that's how I would do it. I guess you would. It's not how you would walk though. When you walk, left leg goes forward. Yeah. The arms and legs alternate when you're walking. So there's a lean, but there's not necessarily a step. There's this little bridge that goes between the thighs that are below the skirt. And I think that's an important horizontal. We'll be able to line that horizontal up with some of the rest of the features, and then also the base of the glutes there. All right, so where this front thigh was at an extreme angle, linking up the entire front of the leg, the right side leg, left leg is much straighter. So it like almost drops straight down, and the knees are, I would say, equal. Amazing, dude. So that whole, we don't even see the back. We don't see the back of the hamstrings on the back leg at all.
Am
We
I?
only see the knee block and the calf. What was the question?
I was just like looking at it and I see that the back knee is farther down than the forward knee. Is that just this camera or?
Let's see. You know, it's interesting because I think this knee is a little bit lower.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because-
saying.
Yeah. I think it is a little bit lower, but then it's also larger. It looks a little bit larger. And I don't know if it's the light or not, but yeah, let's adjust that. So we'll drop this knee block down a little bit, and I'll drop the knee cap down. And this S curve that comes from the basically the back of the thigh, it S curves into the inner part of the knee and S curves back through the intersection of the calf muscle down into the ankle. Trapezoid separation between the ankle and the foot. That's what this flat plane is here, the top of the block of the heel.
But like if you were taking a picture of somebody, would the back knee be lower than the front knee?
If he was leaning to the left.
Okay.
So this is the first, whenever you're drawing a, you're drawing a figure from the front, usually there's a thing called contrapposto, where the angles will angle to one side, or you get this knee, and then the pelvis angles to this side. And then you have a stand leg, which supports the weight. And then you have another leg that's not weight bearing. So there's rib cage, and then the head can go like that. So here's my like stick figure. And contrapposto means that the pelvis is angled this way, and then the shoulders angle this way. Because the hips angle down, it drops this leg. And then this leg is flexed, so it's higher. So there's actually this angle that exists. It repeats according to the hips, and it can be even more exaggerated.
Okay,
And then what I'm thinking is that he's almost standing in somewhat of a contrapposto because he's putting his weight in that staff. So even though the pelvis appears to be very straight, and this is an exaggerated kind of like 19th century sassy pose, you know what I mean? Like it's very sassy. This dude's not that sassy. Like that's what I love about this piece, is that it's actually super subtle. And where that, I mean, you're 100% right about this being lower. And I think the other thing that we're going to find is that this leg here is flexed. Oh, I'm sorry, Dales. This is flexed, and this leg is softer. So I think there's going to be more curvilinear elements here and more flexed muscles on this leg. So this is the weight bearing leg, the one that's closest to us. The far side one is a little not as weight bearing because the weight is shifted into the arm and the staff. So the muscles will probably be more relaxed here, and then therefore lower and also lower, like in this picture, which is more exaggerated. It's annoying that I switched. It's annoying that I switched arms. I should have done it the exact opposite. Did that make sense? Was that a legit explanation?
Yeah, so like the back knee is bent, and then the front knee.
Yes. Yeah, in theory, it would be slightly bent, and not necessarily even bent, but not flexed. So his arm here is flexed and is supporting weight. This right leg is is supporting weight. The left leg is more relaxed. So you can imagine what would happen if one leg is tight, lifts, it actually flexes, and you lift up, and the other leg relaxes. So it it detenses. So the shift, I think, is like not, and it's not a huge difference between the elevations of the kneecaps. I mean, they're pretty close to being the same, but but not. I mean, clearly shorter, lower on this right side than the left side.
Could the fact that like the back kneecap look bigger is because the front one is flexed and like you can see the tendons, and so you just like, you know what I mean? Like how you see the kneecap and then there's like these two little lines, and then it
Yeah.
like those two little lines almost match the back kneecap.
Yeah, the only difference between that is that I believe these are armor, and so it's like a stylized flexing.
Okay.
It's not actually a kneecap, it's a sculpture of a kneecap. And if you go into Wikipedia and find out the names of these, did I write it down? No, the marble is Pentelic marble. I cannot believe I forgot to send you guys that Wikipedia. Let me finish this arm, and then we'll just like basically we'll step back and we'll talk about the face, but I'll need like a 4-minute break because the dog is whining a little bit. I'm on dog duty today. Okay, so I think I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so we can better clarify. I'm going to do my best to not draw larger, which is the only thing that happens when you zoom in and zoom out. But you can definitely get adjusted to it. So the front form of the deltoid, which is the shoulder muscle, you can really see. So the front of it's going to be an egg, but you don't see the back of the egg because of the leather shoulder pads, but you can see the inference of it where it comes up and it kisses the top of this angular edge. So we're going to get this oval. Oh, Bales, I know I'm coming, buddy. Please use the armor as landmarks placements, because it's very helpful. So we get the first oval of the deltoid. Then we're going to get the next smaller oval of bicep to tricep. And then just like the knee block, we're going to use a elbow L. Oh man, I love the elbow. What is that called? Well, whatever. So yeah, so the elbow almost makes like a pizza, like a triangular shape. So the back end, or a diamond almost. So deltoid is an oval, bicep is an oval. The transition from the arm, the upper arm into the lower arm. And then we'll get the oval of the forearm muscle. And then we get the beautiful transitional trapezoid of the forearm into the wrist. And the wrist is a trapezoid as well. It's narrow on the inside, narrow on the back end, wider on the front end. And then we'll do a trapezoid of the palm, the back of the hand. And then we get another subtle trapezoid of the block where all the fingers are going to be. Get it. So I think I got it right. I'm gonna have to, all this will be able to be adjusted, and we'll be able to do the silhouette once all these construction lines get removed. But I don't want to remove the construction lines too soon. The hard part, I would argue, about the left arm is getting oriented, and we want to be able to find where the body and the arm intersect as just like key points, and pray that they are correct. So I'm starting with the bottom of the forearm connecting to the transition into the belt, not the hard edge, the soft edge. And then the intersection of the collar with the pectorals, basically the middle of the pecs. And then if I can come up from there, I see the angle of the forearm attaching to the wrist on the inside. And then we get the block of the hand, X-ray vision, the fingers coming across as its own, trapezoid. The thumb, and then hopefully this staff isn't too close. Ooh, be right, be right, be right. Trying to follow the negative space, the distance away from all of the features at the front. I'm close. I'm closer than I'm righter than I am wrong. Oh God. And then you this really tight slope. Oh my God, look at that beautiful tight slope from the wrist, from the back of the wrist into the base. I went too low. And the crazy part is that I had to use a dark line, and the reason my thing looks so bad is because there's no line there. It's just if there's a line, it's with white chalk. And that's where Grace is going to be the winner on this one. These hands are so good. They're so good. And at first they need to be 4 rectangles, 4 teeny little rectangles. I honestly, drawing this so small really makes you have to stand back, and I can't get seduced by the details because my pencil won't allow it. So hopefully you guys were drawing a lot larger, so that we can then indulge ourselves. Oh, look at how little I made that hand. Okay, I'm gonna extend this hand larger. All right, come on, Bass. Guys, I need 2 minutes or 3 minutes probably.
Go ahead.
Is his thumb upturned like that? Like, is that just me who's seeing it? Like, it's like,
Yeah, it's a little curved upwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I
okay.
see that as well.
Some people's thumbs do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's like crazy cool. I just wondered because I didn't know like it was this common maybe in Greece or something.
The thumbs up.
Did you guys finish?
Yeah.
I left my coffee downstairs.
Has Bailey been eating the cicadas?
Yes.
And has it been like, have you seen?
Like wings come out in the poop?
No, no, like because of the opioids and the protein, like it's kind of like hospice for old dogs.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's the only thing you have to worry about is like the actual shell that they come out of, but otherwise like the cicadas are really good for the dogs. And I was wondering if you saw a difference in Bailey's behavior or anything.
I haven't really. I looked for that, but I haven't. He doesn't seem. He's like a pretty mellow dog as far as it goes. So, so yeah, I guess the short answer is no. But I go out. He probably eats 2 or 3 a day. But we've been keeping him in the backyard, and I usually go out and I can case the joint and get rid of all the cicadas that have landed in the yard.
Okay, because I know a dog who's like really old and basically on his last leg, and he was really struggling, and then he started eating cicadas. he jumped back on it, like, and the woman who is actually, I don't know what you call it, like a foot doctor.
Uh-huh.
Diapers.
Yeah. She was like really fascinated by it and like researched it, and she found out like the cicadas have like opioids and are really good for dogs, and like
Maybe we should start eating them.
yeah, people do eat them. It's really,
I
I
know.
don't eat them, but
Yeah, I wished I mean, what if they are like that? What if they, imagine if like lobsters kind of like just crawled out of the ocean floor like once every 17 years. Like we'd probably think they were disgusting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we'd be missing out on such amazing food. Ooh. Now you got me thinking of lobster rolls.
we're really into lobsters. Didn't you have them with Gabby? Or no, did you guys get them?
Yes, yeah. Riley, we got takeout from Riley's Oyster House. Best lobster rolls in the area. Unless anybody else has any better tips.
There's also Belvedere Market has
Oh,
a whole like Cape Cod lobster roll place or something. They're pretty good.
in Belvedere, sweet. Is it like Belvedere Square?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know Belvedere, you know the market where it has
Yeah.
that nice outdoor seating and all the little markets inside with an Atwater.
Right. That's good to know. I will be trying that out. Okay, well, this is good. I mean, we had to do this. We just had to. So I think what we're gonna do, I think we'll probably have a couple how-to moments. So we'll look at, we'll do the face. I think we'll like get some of the techniques on how to deal with the lighting and the component parts. So we're not going to do every single beard part, but we'll do like one or two of those zigzags. We'll do the major features: the eyes, nose, mouth, ear, and then I would like to save some time just to do the some of the fabric. And the fabric is like, at least on that sleeve, that's the thing that I was spawned this whole thing. So I think if hopefully we're in a position where we can go and get a little bit closer to the face, and I'll zoom in on that here, and then we'll be able to zoom in even closer when needed, and make sure I've got this big enough. You guys can have a little bit of a border to it. It's not that big a deal. All right. So I promise this is actually the fun part. We kind of we had to go through that. We had to go through that little torture exercise. Maybe it wasn't torture. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
Thank you. Put that over here. So, all right. Well, this is all right. I think this is all right. I'm hoping to have the right size. I think this is as best as we're gonna do. Could this move over a little bit more? Oh yeah, there it goes. That's what I needed. Okay. Now I got plenty of room to work. All right, so let me see if I can just get what the loose framework of what I set up before. So I set up a circle, did I not? Set up a circle, and then I built this little triangle. I put in a little slot for the nose, put in a little circle for the eye, a the mouth. Then I very simply laid in our chin. We had that mask concept, which is so helpful. And I put the ear back here. And what I didn't do was add any of the other, I didn't add any of the other component parts. So let's see, then I got my, I remember I did the vertical line for the neck. And then the back of the neck. Okay, maybe the eye is a little bit closer. So that's closer, this is closer. All right, cool. So this is hopefully, I'm gonna see if I can compare it to my little guy. It's something like it. Something like it. So what I probably should have done when it came back into this stage of it, I should have probably, sectioned off the facial hair from the face, the bangs, and then did the hat. He's got this little helmet, which is, looks kind of small as far as like a warrior helmet goes. And then he's got this flow going kind of from, there's the shape of the bangs, which gives us these angled columns forward. And then you have the hair that's in the back of the head. It kind of makes a trapezoid, and those have those rectangular columns that we'll be able to turn into, these locks. So I got beard, and then in the middle of all of that is the ear. So next level details of the face, you've got the nose, you've got the eyebrow ridge, and then you have the almond of the eye underneath that eyebrow ridge. So I still am happy with like the line that is the separation between the upper lip and the lower lip. Perfectly happy with that at this like level of development. So I guess what I'm adding to the head is, one, the hat, two, the beard, the facial features. I'll just put the face. I mean, a very basic face. So we're talking like eyebrow, almond for the eye, a nostril for the nose now, mouth with just a single line between the upper lip and the lower lip. We added the bangs, B-A-N-G-S, and then the back of the hair, I'll call it the flow. And then, really, really placing the ear. So technically the facial features are the eyes, nose, mouth, and ear and chin, but he's got a beard, and the ear is really kind of blocked in between the neck, the flow, the bangs, the helmet, and the the sideburns, which is just part of the beard. And when you have, once those are like, they don't even have to be like well, they just have to be acknowledged. They don't even have to be well drawn. And then we're going to be able to sink in to all of these wonderful details. Okay. So this is good. I've got it. I think I've got it. I'll do a follow-up. We've got the bangs, which helps separate the the face. Then I'll do the face, which includes the forehead, and then kind of S curves into the nose. There's the front of the nose, then there's the underside of the nose, and then we have the nostril flare, which is just a little teardrop. I had the line where the lips are touching. So we go from the middle of the nose into the down plane of the upper lip. Then we'll do the up plane of the lower lip. That guy looks like he's smiling already. And then, yeah, there's always usually a little space between that lower lip and then where the facial hair begins. So I'm readjusting my pointy beard.
I never even saw that point.
Cool. Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm glad. That's why we draw it, to see the things that we wouldn't see. Oh man, that's so great. Okay. I'll follow up with that one in a second. All right, so when we've came up with this forehead, the forehead transitioning into the keystone, transitioning into the bridge of the nose, you know, he gives us the keystone. It's like so awesome. So you can see the keystone. It's a line. It's a straight line. It builds a little miniature trapezoid at the edge of the you know, in between the forehead and the nose. And then because of that keystone, that's where we can get the eyebrow ridge. And then you go from that keystone on the inside of the eye socket. And then we're going to find the tear duct, which is like super important. And then we're going to draw the inner portion of the almond. So we're basically doing the watermark. We're doing the place where the upper eyelid meets the eyeball. We're not doing the eyelids yet. And it makes just the most elegant leaf. It's like a leaf shape. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to draw it, but you know, you start with the tear duct, and then you get an S curve up steep, and then a gentle slide down. And you start with the gentle slide up, and then a curve across, and it's just like, it's just that upper eyelid, the nature of the upper eyelid, going around the eyeball, and then the lower eyelid coming in, and then wrapping around the bottom of the ball. You know, that space between the eyes, it's just like, it reminds me of a leaf. And you can use it, you know, it's just such a universal and such a familiar and beautiful element. Even at this stage, I think it's okay to, you know, use that line that we use for the top, blend it into the upper eyelid, because there's a thickness there. And then we can draw the fold. The fold, the distance between the upper eyelid and the fold, and then the fold and the eyebrow. You can pay attention to that distance. It's a greater distance between the fold and the eyelid than the eyelid and the eye. So contrary to the up, you know, the reverse of the upper eyelid, where we use the line on the top of the almond to blend that into the upper eyelid, we're going to use the line for the lower eyelid. That dark line is going to be blended into the eyeball. And then we need a separate line to define the light part of the lower eyelid. And that separate line will then get blended into the shadow side of the lower eyelid. And then the shadow of the upper eyelid joins with almost making like a dark moat around the bottom eyelid. And here for the first time, hopefully you guys can see it, we have this kind of almost illusion of the third dimension. And the light to dark, the up plane, down plane, left side, right side, is going to be really on display right now. So the face has these really gentle, I really went into it, didn't I? So the eyebrows, are not very dark. They're not very pronounced. So we want to diffuse that. And the distance, the space between the eyebrow and the fold is an underplane, a dark plane. So we're almost giving like eyeshadow. And then we can let that upper eyelid be bold. And then the same thing with the eyeball itself. The eyeball itself is mostly dark in this, from this view. And it's got this light highlight along the top ridge. Cool. I'm going to zoom in on the nose because it's, and I can zoom in on the eye too. That's what I should have done in the first place because that's what we're working on. As the upper eyelid dark joins with the shadow, it almost blends in with the rest of the face. But that is the opposite, where it's like the light of the inner part of the eye socket, the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid join in the light. So that diffuses out. So the back end, this back end is joined in by shadow, and then the front end, the upper eyelid, the lower eyelid blend together in that skin bridge that I talk about in the light side. Awesome. So I'm going to put an arrow here. This arrow represents the light source. And the hardest part about this picture, and it's going to be the best part about the nose, but it's the nose and the mouth for that matter, but the hardest part is this ambiguous transition from the background entering into the front plane of the nose. And then of course the side plane is wonderful. But this makes it hard to see the where the nose ends and the background begins, because it's all very washed out. So we almost have to like, this would be an opportunity where we could even look at a different angle, a different lighting arrangement, and possibly steal that. I'm thinking maybe make the, darken the background a little bit so that the nose is light up against the dark background, so we can get the actual separation. It's definitely the solution. Okay, this is wonderful. You want to see the nose? I hadn't ever seen this before, really, but you want to see the nose as these two irregular peanuts. So the one peanut swelling on the left is a little bit smaller. The one swelling on the right is bigger. You get relatively light planes on the top, and then as it goes under, you get the shadow side, and then you have an actual elliptical cavity underneath, which is the nostril hole. So we've got the shadow side of the nostril on the back, shadow side of the nostril on the front, and then where the nose transitions into this upper lip, and then on the upper lip there's a little bit of shadow from the nostril because the light's above. And then to make this whole thing feel like a nose, you can put the dark hole for the cavity. We even have a little philtrum in there. The septum is part of the nose, and that transitions into the philtrum. There's a little, from this particular angle, you can see that little notch in there. That notch is going to be dark, but then it gets light on the far side. So notice that, yes, we've made the top of the nose a dark up against the light, but as it curls under, you think, oh, well, underside of the nose, it's going to be dark. It does go in shadow, but the nose itself is still light up against the cast shadow because there's reflected light under there. Anyway, Let's focus on these features, and then we'll focus on the relationship that the features have with the background. So we get the philtrum, and then that philtrum transitions into the upper lip. And you get this corner of the mouth. I love that it's not a teardrop, but it is a dark plane, so it's in shadow. And this is where we talked about in the beginning. I'll just put it in here. You have the shadow of the lip, and then you have this line, this faint line, which represents the underside, the thinnest underside of his mustache. And if you look right here, you can see that there is a little teeny line representing the top of the mustache. And it makes a little talon shape. Probably S curves into the little Captain Morgan there. So the upper eyelid was light, the under eyelid was dark, the upper crest of the eyeball was light, the bottom crest was dark. The lower eyelid top portion angled up, and then the shadow portion angled down. We're going to follow that with the lips. So the upper lips angle down, the lower lip angles up, so it's light. That lower lip flips over, and you get a little gentle shadow in between the lower lip and where the line for the goatee begins. And we can actually use a line there because he did. Look how he carved in that little delicate line. Spectacular. And then it actually disappears behind the other side. So you see how this line would have come up. The lip comes in front of the far side of that goatee. And it lost that because of whatever the edits were. There's the softest cone you could ever imagine in the hair for the mustache. So I'm going to put in that very soft underplane. So the upper plane is light, the underplane is in shadow, and then the edge is a down plane, helping to define there's a little light gutter in between the lip and the mustache. And it looks like the mouth does disappear underneath. Well, no, it doesn't. Almost. I wanted that corner of the mouth to go underneath the mustache, but it doesn't. That upper lip track goes all the way from the philtrum all the way down and then connects into the skin beneath that lip. So I'm forced to move out now because in order to finish the face, we need to define the parameters of it. And I define the parameters by this line separating the bangs, terminating in this kind of spiral. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. Small one. 3. So the line here, it divides the bangs from the skin. What I think is one of the most this is what you kind of, when you go to a barber, this type of edge of your beard is what they kind of are trying to design. So it looks, oh, there was an extra one. That's not that bad. Okay, let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so the last 2 circles here is where we get the goatee. And it creates an hourglass, kind of a funnel. I'll zoom back out. So we get our hourglass funnel. When I say hourglass, I'm just referring to concave, and then it is gonna swirl up. And this line helps define the cheekbone. Comes in running a vertical right about there, and then it's gonna swerve back down underneath the cheekbone, and it's gonna help better be a definition of the jawline, like the jawbone, kind of more of the angle of the chin. Nice. So the concave back end of the sideburns, you could argue is straighter. And then we do the, the elbow of the jawline. So the beard actually accentuates this jaw. There's this model that keeps showing up on all my feeds. It's this guy who's got this like incredible, like almost very unnatural, but unbelievably masculine squared off jawline. And I imagine that the facial hair as an aesthetic in terms of increasing the perception of masculinity, provides that. And, I'm looking at this jawline and it's larger than his natural jawline. Okay, so before you get into any of that magic of the beard and the hair, let's peruse the reason I suggested Grace use the smooth paper, and it's because of the tonality that you get in the skin. And I'm not even going to use my pencil. I'm just using my tortillon, and I'm going to use pigment that already exists in the drawing. And a lot of this stuff is, I think a lot of these tones could be, they are forms. So you do get this like cheekbone. It clearly is, darker as it comes underneath, approaching the edge of the beard line. And it transitions, into the side of the nose. But there's a discoloration there, which I don't know if it's from the fact that it was painted and the paint is still there, or because somebody was touching it. It almost feels like, you ever seen like sculptures and bronze or even marbles, like where you can tell people's fingers have been all over it, the grease, and like usually it's in like naughty areas.
Yeah,
Or just like if it's a tall sculpture and you can, you can touch the foot. So you go up and touch the foot for like good luck, rub the toe for good luck.
and my I'm going to, they have the statue in like the main hall where they take all the tests and they always rub the toe.
Yeah.
It's like basically not there anymore. Like like it's just like a stub. Like
Oh no, it actually rubbed away.
yeah, like it almost, yeah.
That's cool. I do like traditions like that. There's a warthog in Florence, big bronze bull, or warthog rather, and he's sitting down and his snout's everywhere, and his snout is the shiniest piece of bronze you'll ever see, because every local, every tourist comes through and rubs it for good luck. It was actually in what was that movie with Anthony Hopkins? Hannibal. Okay, this is the fun part. I just gotta run downstairs just for a second so I can show you this thing. I have this beautiful candle that I was going to teach as a warm up. While I'm gone, this was a nice pattern to border the face. So what I love about what we've got going on here is there's such a clear distinction between the face and everything else. And so that's what I need. That's what we need to do to, get into the beard and then get into the hair. So at this stage, we really do need to define where the ear is in these orbs, define where the edge of the hat is compared to the bangs. And then we're going to be able to draw the bangs in between these elements. And again, thank goodness we're working in pencil so that we can, erase. Okay, be right back. So this was almost the warm up. It was this new candle that I got, and it's like a candy cane. It's kind of twisted, and it's the, I guess it would be the opposite direction, right? Now. The spiral, I think we should start with the one that's like most well defined. Oh, sorry, Maureen. Yeah, she had to go. It's like a little, it's a spring. It springs spiral. So yes, I drew a circle, but it's a spiral that's going to then S curve up. And then you just get this repeated. You get a repeated row. The spring. And I do wonder what, try the spring, and then the S curve, S curve. And it looks like each row works. So I feel like with these types of things, it's nice to be 100%, but blowing up. Hold on, I'm gonna have to check those. Sorry, Kristen texted me. I hope it's not an emergency. Whoa, cool. Maureen's looks great.
Oh, let's see it.
She won't mind. Okay. Let's look. She went faster. Wow.
Oh, that looks great.
Does look really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, those folds are amazing.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was good. Oops, sorry, I have to go back. It was good to see. It's good to see what she did. It's so helpful, actually, to be able to see what everybody's doing. I should probably do a look at it midway. Okay, so these are in one sense like the easy ones, because they go, they have the light side is the right side is light, and then the left side is in shadow. Because they're at this funky angle, it's almost as if they're almost as if they're lit from below, because the right side is light, the left side's in shadow. So in one sense, yes, this is kind of a down plane, but it's at such an extreme angle that it's still catching enough light. So the side of this twist or spiral or spring is light. The left side is shadow. So it's almost like if you draw it like I did, you would then add the shadows to the left of each one of your springs, because it's really a left plane, not a down plane. Lovely. Not that the down planes don't exist. I mean, they do, especially at the base of this one. So now this is where, the beard is where things are going to get, I wouldn't call them tricky, but they're going to be interesting. The temptation is just to do like a squiggle everywhere, but you want to see the directional flow of each one of these columns, and that's really what they are. They really are columns. And, so in one sense, you would make a series of straight lines to follow the direction of these columns. And then inside of that, you could use those straight lines, the light straight lines, as guidelines. And so I'm going to just do it a little bit larger. So I'll go here, here, here. And I'm going to use these straight lines and spiral around and try to get my ebb and flow balanced in proportion. And then I can do the same thing, echoing the first one. And then this is where we're going to get this kind of three-dimensional mass. Let's see if we can do, we'll do it this side. So watch what I'm going to do here. So that's this thing. If I were doing straight lines, there would be a top plane, which would create a cube. So this is a cross section of this cube. So you get a light and then you get a shadow. And it gets darker towards the bottom of that block. So if you follow this here, we're going to get a top plane to make it 3D. And then we're going to get these side plane. So this light part is a separate plane. So the same thing's going to happen here. We're going to get this light eyelid. And then we're going to get these side plane. So if I shade it, we're going to get this really epic three-dimensional property. And it's going to be a little bit of a, it's almost like a tongue twister, but visual. It's a similar game that, what's his face would do all the time, MC Escher. So there's the next mass, and then we got to give it, or less shape, and then we have to give it the right mass. So we're defining each ribbon is going to have two planes, the light plane, which is narrower, thinner, and then the side plane, which is larger. And these are created by cutting out these grooves. I would love to see the instrument that he used. I mean, honestly, it's harder to draw it than it is to sculpt it, because he just had the right chisel at the right angle, and he just like swerved it down to the point where I believe this is kind of like it's almost like a groove. This trench in here, this is like a grooved trench. And the dark line is in here, whereas there's this softer transition from the shadow side into the light. I think that might be where my drawing really differs from his drawing. Is that yes, there's a top plane, yes, there's a side plane, but it's not an edgy transition, it's a softer transition. So there's my, you can, this is the side plane, this is the top. And I didn't even realize this, but it appears to have a thick, a thick angle to the right, and then a thin angle to the left. Ooh. So angle to the left is thick, up and to the right is thin. Angle to the left is thick. Angle to the right is thin. Angle to the left is thick. Wow. And I had not drawn them, with these rigid straight lines. I did them with the S curves, and I'm wondering if part of the masculine nature of the look comes from them being more of a straight line, at least having straight line components. Maybe it goes curve, straight, curve, straight, curve, straight. Because it's short, rigid beard hair. So the nature of it is kind of prickly. So you would think that the way that it was executed, would be with straighter lines. But hair grows, curly too. So it's both. Its nature is prickly, but its movement is curvy. And then it seems like they, conclude in a top plane. So this ridge concludes at least in a plane that angles up towards the light. So they kind of start at the top flat, and then that's what allows for the skin to be darker. And there's a separation for and the skin is obviously soft and dark. Look at this little curved edge right here. I'm looking at this little waterfall here. There's this little guy over here. We can tighten this up a little bit. Now, there's a luxury at drawing larger. I mean, for sure. These down planes seem to be picked up a little bit heavier. Yeah, that's nice. It's not as at the left side, it's also the down plane. So there's a shift in values up to down. Up and down. I wish there was a grad school where I could go where someone could teach me stuff like that. I guess there is none. What a dream. They're like, it reminds me of Cubert. You see it's like each one of these planes is like you could really section these off and make them almost architectural, like a staircase. And then in addition to that, it reminds me of, as it's giving me like a staircase architecture feel, they also give me the waves, like endless ocean waves, like the infinity of, waves in the ocean. It's like kind of almost like a universal symbol for water, if you were to see it from the side, or like the levels of like irrigation on the side of mountains. So many associations that are just that where you can capture, you know, when you can capture all of those various macro moments in the world in a a man's beard. Cool. All right. So we did those spirals. Would you guys be open to doing some of this fabric next week?
I would be.
Thought today was the last class. It's not?
I don't know. Is it the last class?
I mean, I wasn't sure whether you even, you know, that you would have a last class, but I guess you did. I mean, I
Well,
thought you,
with art camp, so we don't have, I think it might be the last class. I'll have to talk to Kristen.
okay.
My calendar says we have one more.
Okay, good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so yeah, I think we go then with one more and then it's art camp. So then we'll take a break for the summer. Unless,
Oh, okay.
unless of course you want to Tuesday nights, you know, we have class on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, I'm going to start coming to that eventually, but maybe I'll finish up with the drawing and then.
Next week.
Yeah.
Either way. You know.
Yeah.
What's the Tuesday night class, Trevor?
It is a group, you know, it's drawing and painting. I mean, we have, it's oil painting. It's booked as a oil painting class, but I've got guys that are drawing and watercoloring and mostly drawing, watercolor, and oil. It's wild.
So
It's a great
if we
group.
join it to draw, that's all right?
Yeah, and I give
It's live in person.
It's in person,
Oh,
and sometimes Stacy will join, you know, on Zoom. It doesn't come through on Zoom because I teach at the board and a lot, and so basically I usually do like a lesson, a kind of a shortened lesson for the first hour, and then the second hour people are working on their own stuff. Last week we worked on our own stuff the entire time, whereas the week before that I taught a lesson for the entire time. Oh, in fact, I taught the Gainsborough landscape that we did.
Oh, yeah.
I played that video. I played that video of me teaching, and then I painted along.
nice.
So I basically, and then I would stop it and start it when it was useful. So the other class got to draw that content, and then I demonstrated how one would paint.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can we take a minute for a view? And Trevor, can I see your full image as well?
Yeah. Oh God.
Thank you.
Well, I think I'm gonna fix it. How about those cicadas, man? I love them. All right, that's all I got.
I've taken 2 out of my dog's mouth that were still kicking.
Mom, give it a message. Say thanks.
Pardon?
So I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop the share. Can we, Adele? Can I take a look at yours? Let's see, let me pin Adele. Can you hear me?
Or is that me?
Yeah, I just had you first on my
Okay.
on my queue.
Oh, that's
wow.
beautiful.
Let's see
Very
again.
nice.
Missed it.
My light is bad.
Lovely.
May I see it again? I missed it.
It's up there.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
okay.
super.
I see. Oh, nice.
He's great. He's really great.
Wow.
Thanks, Adele.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Good proportions.
beautiful.
Grace, I got you next on the list. Replace pin.
Okay.
My
As
windows.
usual, I'm very slow.
Oh,
It's a
Grace, I
paper.
love the white.
That process is going to be so good. I'm trying to look at the
Lot
top.
more
Yeah.
to go.
The only thing that's standing out to me that I think is going to fix is the
Yeah.
the top of his helmet.
Yeah.
Is probably not a dark line. It's probably a light line. Depending on the, oh wait, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Sorry.
Oh.
I was looking at the one in the book.
Maybe it's not as dark. I can lighten it, certainly. I still have to do a lot of smudging.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's actually fine. I would put him, and I didn't talk about it, and I should have. Do the entire frieze. So sketch the entire block of marble. So like the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That'll
Okay.
help. That'll help a lot too, because then you'll be able to see it not as a figure, but actually as a block of marble.
Yes, I definitely will do that. It'll give that stone feel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that white
thank
chalk, Grace.
I love doing work when we've done with colored paper and chalk. It's always been so nice to have that stone texture. But boy, it would have been fun if we were all doing it together, because I was kind of blindly doing it.
Yeah, I will.
Same here.
I think next year I'm going to send out a supply list to the group, and to all new students, and do the regular students, so that we have the option. So like we can have like 3 different pads. You can have black paper and white chalk, tan paper, gray paper, and
Nice.
like regular paper. Because there are projects where I'm like, oh, this would be perfect, but everyone doesn't have these materials. So
Mhm.
I would
Yeah.
be able to be more flexible with my teaching if I knew that I knew what everybody had, rather than I had this kind of like idealism where I'm like, if you have a pencil and a piece of paper, that's all you need. And it's like, well, for this class, no, like we need a little more. Okay, so Stacy, can we see? I got you pinned.
Sure. So I ran out of steam, so I'm not going to show you the head. Do that.
Yeah,
Is that
and
okay?
and Grace, if you look at her paper, Stacy's paper looks like stone already.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
definitely.
like his legs are great. It's mini skirt.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Very nice.
I think I would just say the same thing, and it's a failure on my teaching because I didn't mention it, but put him in an entire block. Like draw the base. There's this beautiful. Let me see, I can't see myself, but there's a beautiful the base, which there's like a little rectangle where you like link up both of the feet, and then you define the width of the stone with that. And I didn't do it. I didn't do the top. I did the side where it touched his thigh and his hips and his back. But okay, that's great. Steph, and then Matt.
Oh boy, this guy looks more like a longshoreman than a Greek god.
No. Can you hold that?
He's not a Greek god.
away?
That's the crazy thing. Nice.
I know, he's a soldier, citizen soldier.
Yeah.
Hold that away from the screen just a little
back
bit.
a little bit. Yeah.
His legs are amazing.
And up a tiny, just a hair.
He's a little hunched over more than he should have been, but
I think the head might be a little bit large, and then I think the arm might be a little bit small.
okay.
It's like I think both of them together are making, but they're both relative. You could keep the head that size. Maybe make the arm a little bigger, and if it's
which arm?
Okay, the shoulder,
the arm.
His right arm.
Okay.
The left side arm.
Okay.
A little bigger.
Oh, okay.
Something.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. I think Stace just got kicked off. Maddie, can we see what you did? Did you work on it?
Yeah, I worked on it, but I like did the full everything, and then when I went into the head, I made the head bigger when I was drawing it. When we were
That's
going
fine.
So then I'm just kind of playing catch up, I guess, in some way of like the whole body. So I had to like redo everything to enlarge it or make it bigger. So I'm still working on it.
Yeah, no, but his proportions are
good.
great. He looks
Yeah.
he's like a total beefcake. I love that.
You can see like there's like this under, like this is where the feet originally ended.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah. So you made the proportions. You adjusted the proportions. to
I
that.
had to adjust. That's what like when everyone was talking, I had to like adjust the proportion and everything.
Yeah,
So,
but that's good, dude. I mean, that's what I mean.
yeah.
That is a really good exercise. Hold on a second. Hey, Stace, you're on speaker.
Screen, but if someone could please, if you take pictures, Stephanie and Mandy, of your piece, and please send to Trevor.
Oh, yeah, if you
Okay.
could send pictures, that'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
All right.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, this is so sad. Is it the penultimate class? Yeah, I think that's what you say. Next week is the
Yeah.
ultimate.
Next week is the last class.
Next week is the last week. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Everyone have a
I'll
great
see you, Trevor.